Put that B-roll in your B-hole.
No. Don't put the B-roll in my B-hole. Is that what it's for?
Yep. That's where it goes. The A-roll goes in the A-hole, and the B-roll goes in the B-hole.
All right, that's fair. Wake up, everybody. Today is July 16th, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch Pulaski, joined by my co-host, Jason Wright. If you decide you like us and you need a distraction from the looming threat of utter destruction as reality spirals deeper and deeper into the endless void, like the maw of some long-forgotten monstrosity, chaos and insanity personified, beckoning for you to give in and become one with its will. You can find us at neverfreetoplay.com, patreon.com/neverfreetoplay, or on all the other social media where we are Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Jason, how are you doing?
That was dark.
It's a dark week.
It is a dark week, dude. I'm starting to realize that I'm just getting older every day, man. Just getting older. Doing dad things, falling asleep everywhere. Today I just straight up couldn't keep my eyes open after work. So I was trying to play with Luke and I fell asleep on his bed while he was playing with his little art table thing. And then he woke me up and I was like, read me a book. And so he read me a book. And then I fell asleep during that, and then we got up, and then he wanted to play a game on his tablet, which was fine because it was 120 degrees outside, so he couldn't really go outside.
It was hot.
So I was like, yeah, it's fine. Let's play some tablet games, and we went on the day bed, and I fell asleep in there too. So
wait, recount for me. Was that 3 separate occasions you fell unconscious?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Congratulations.
At least.
That's impressive. I was just telling my daughter earlier, I was like, Uncle Jason could fall asleep anywhere. Because for some reason, I think I brought up falling asleep on the toilet. I was like, I've never done that. Have you? She's like, no. I'm like, Uncle Jason could. She's like, nuh-uh. I'm like, he could fall asleep anywhere. It's his superpower. She's like, nuh-uh.
I could. Julie, your daughter's disbelief in me and my abilities is really getting to me this week because you had mentioned that I helped you move into that house back in the day, and you said something about your friends being strong, and she was like, Uncle Jason's not strong.
Straight from her mouth. Exactly
and
what she said.
That hurt me. And the thing is I asked her for a strength test. I was like, test me. Give me a test. And she's like, no.
No.
So I can't even prove it.
It's just a disingenuous, argument.
Yeah,
bad faith.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I had the ability to fall asleep, but I've been okay. I'm a little grumpy with YouTube. So everybody knows.
Tell me about it.
Everybody knows that you need to sign up for their dumb premium service if you want to listen to a video while your phone is off. While the screen is locked or asleep or whatever you call it. All right, fine, whatever. I don't pay for it. I refuse to pay for that ability because it's the dumbest thing that you could lock behind a paywall. So usually I don't mind, doing the picture-in-picture thing and using my phone otherwise. And I was listening to some music earlier, and I wanted to, talk to you or look something up online or whatever, and I went to go to my home screen, and the video stopped. It's like, oh, that's weird. And so I went back into YouTube and brought up the video, started playing the music, and then did it again, and it stopped it again. I was like, what's going on? And then this little notification popped up. It's like, can't support picture-in-picture with music. So videos that are tagged as music specifically, because I assume you could put up a video that's not music, and this wouldn't happen to it. But videos that are tagged as music specifically will not let you do other things on your phone while it's playing. Otherwise, the app shuts down. And it's just like, what is that? What is that?
Well, it's crap is what it is. And I think it's even worse in iOS because even on the iPad, I don't think you can picture-in-picture any YouTube video. Now, what you can do is you could split screen it. But you cannot picture-in-picture YouTube
I didn't try that.
iOS.
Because I can split screen. I don't know if I could do that too, though. Because I'm on Android, just to clarify.
Okay, right, yeah.
But
it's really annoying, and yeah, it's the dumbest thing you can lock behind a paywall is like locking your screen. But I mean, I guess it works for a lot of people. I mean, but I can't imagine being a person that listens to the majority of their music on YouTube. Because when I'm listening to music, usually it's like in the car.
Yes.
And they do have the YouTube Music app.
It's insane. It's insane.
I hate it.
So
you know what else I hate, Karch?
What do you hate?
While we're on the topic of hating things, I just feel like 2-day shipping I'm so accustomed to it that 2-day shipping's become too long. And what I find myself doing is like, I need to buy certain things, but I'm like, I don't want to wait 2 days for it to get here. And I'm super impatient, so I just don't buy it. And I still don't have it. And it's been like a month.
And you can't just go out and get it like you used to.
The thing I'm looking for, their specialty, I'm looking for specifically power adapters for my lighting here. Because for whatever reason, the lighting only came with batteries. It didn't come with power adapters. And that's not something you can really easily get in a store because Radio Shack's been shut down for about a decade now.
Yeah, I don't know where you get that kind of stuff anymore.
Well, I was at Ace Hardware because I figured they have weird stuff like that. I was at Ace Hardware with my dad for a totally different thing.
Sure.
But I thought I'd look there while I was there, and they do not have them. I need like a universal DC power adapter. I need 2 of them.
But you're not willing to wait 2 days. So you're willing to wait infinite days.
Yeah. And it's the same thing with a lot of different things. I have been working from home, as you know, for quite a while now, and I refuse to buy a DisplayPort to HDMI adapter. And like, I could have resolved a lot of my life's issues for $8 and waiting 2 days, but I'm just like, I don't want to wait.
Nobody does. So you'll just, I guess,
suffer.
Drones or bust for you.
Yep.
4-hour delivery.
Same day, 4-hour delivery with drones.
Yep.
That's what I need.
All right. Let's get into some actual gaming stuff. But first, some housekeeping. Like, sub, follow, and all the fun stuff. Click that link in the description Jason set up for you. It'll take you straight to the subscription. It'll sign you up right away. You don't even have to do anything. You won't even know it happened.
You won't even know what happened.
And it's faster than 2 days. So
and what's it cost you to subscribe? It costs nothing. Come on.
Except
do it. Follow us on Twitter.
Except your dignity.
Listen to our podcast feed. If you're looking at the link to this video and saying, man, I don't want to sit here and watch this for 2 hours. I got a link in the description to the podcast feeds.
Yep, we are.
Check it out on podcast.
And if you don't have YouTube Premium, all the better. Because Spotify's free.
Yep. And we have no ads.
No ads. Probably never will.
Other housekeeping. There is no NFTP debates this week. Greg's son had to unfortunately spend a couple nights in the ER. He's totally fine. Just got a little dehydrated, had a little baby viral thing, not COVID related or anything like that. But he had to flip his work schedule, and unfortunately we did not get a chance to record. So hopefully we will get a chance this week. We'll have to see what his work schedule holds this weekend. But yeah. That's all I have on updates for that.
Get better soon, or congratulations.
He's already better.
Yeah.
He's great. He's a happy baby.
That's good. All right. Shout outs. We got a new sub. Someone that came over via NFT debates. I guess Greg showed a video and they subbed. We don't know your name, but welcome, you lovely NFer. No corrections because, as always, we are perfect. Right?
Yeah, no corrections that I heard. I listened to the podcast like once on podcast, once on YouTube, and like as I was also editing, and I did not hear anything that I was like, oh no, that's outright wrong.
Wonder if we'll ever stop doing that. Listening to our own, I mean.
Why would we? That's the only reason we do this is to listen to ourselves.
Other people don't. Other people don't listen to their own stuff. Like, except
really?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure people don't listen to their own content.
Well, I mean, they probably put out so much of it that they can't if they wanted to.
That was my point.
Yeah.
All right, so pretty light news week. We got some announcements, but this afternoon, some pretty juicy stuff dropped, at least for us. This is the kind of thing we're interested in. Xbox Game Pass and Project xCloud are coming together at no additional cost in September. So,
what a beautiful marriage.
What a beautiful marriage. Xbox continues. Microsoft Xbox division continues its very pro-consumer, gamer-friendly initiative for this upcoming generation and, presumably beyond forever until they decide to stop being cool.
Which will be when they're winning. That's when everyone decides to stop being cool.
I mean, it's funny because like if this gets them to win though, like you can't just they've done too much to backpedal. Some of it maybe like they might not carry all of these things forward, but like Game Pass isn't going anywhere. Yeah,
that's a good point.
Anyway,
so let's break down the details for anyone who doesn't know and doesn't follow gaming news as closely as we do. So Xbox Game Pass is essentially Xbox's subscription service where all of their first-party games will come to day and date, as well as a pretty decent collection of second and third-party games. So you have things like The Outer Worlds was on there. The price is $15 a month for the console. It's only in beta on PC right now, so it's $5 a month on PC. And eventually they will have parity with the libraries on both platforms, but for now the console has more offerings. But essentially what it is you pay $15 a month and you can play any of the games in that library. And from what I've seen with it, it seems to be the case that typically games are added but not taken out. I haven't seen any sort of rotating library stuff.
Some games have already left.
Okay.
So there is it's just like this is without the actual streaming component. This is the closest we've come to the Netflix of gaming.
And that was exactly what my next point was with the Project xCloud so these games right now as it stands, Game Pass, you're downloading them to your console or your PC and you're playing them natively on that hardware. xCloud is their streaming service, which is akin to Google Stadia, where you aren't actually doing the processing on your local machine. This gets done. The processing gets done in a server somewhere on a virtual machine, and then that gets streamed to you. So like Google Stadia, like PlayStation Now, and they are marrying these two ideas, making it the closest thing we will have to the Netflix of gaming. And I am so excited about it. They announced this back in November. They said it would be coming in 2020, and it's finally coming in September. And for $15 a month, I am stoked.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm sorry. Did you say that it was only included with the Ultimate package?
I did not say that, but yeah, that you are correct.
Yeah. So the Ultimate package includes the console, the PC, and Xbox Gold. Which again, I think that's only about $15, maybe $17 a month. But you can buy a package for like $44.99 for 3 months or something like that.
We'll have to look into the pricing.
Yeah, but it's no more than that. I really, it's not 20. Like I know it's not 20. It's less than $20 a month. That's for sure. And that's a crazy good deal. It's already, I think I pay $5, like you mentioned earlier, for the PC, and then when you throw in the gold, which is that a good value, and should they even charge for that? That's a whole other thing. But like this is awesome. And I was talking to a friend at work about this, about how the dream is here. We don't have to choose anymore. We can just play all of it, because he's a PC guy too, for the most part. But he has a PS4 and he recently got a Switch, so he's pretty much in the same boat as the two of us. And then he's like, he did the whole tried and true, they think Xbox is making a misstep because now they can't sell consoles. I'm like, dude, they're getting $5 out of me a month that they never, ever, ever, ever got before, or would have ever gotten even afterward, Like, I'm a PlayStation guy. I was always going to get a PS4. I was always going to get a PS5. If they never came to PC, if they never started doing the Game Pass, I would have never given them my money. And so now, and I know there's thousands like me out there. And you do
there
that.
There are dozens of us.
Hundreds of dozens. So, yeah, this is huge. Sorry, Stadia.
Right. Yeah. Well, I have heard that sentiment too a lot today in the gamer sphere of how does Stadia compete with this, because Xbox just ate their lunch. But the thing is we knew this was going to happen before Stadia even launched.
But if there was even a sliver in some people's minds, or the people at Stadia who because I feel like they've already abandoned it, but somebody there still cares about this project, I feel bad for them, because now this project is just dead. At least as far as being the breakout streaming sensation that everyone wanted it to be for the first 2 months it was talked about. And then they just, all these forced errors, they started screwing up before.
Unforced.
I always say that. Unforced errors. because they started screwing up before COVID started messing with everybody, you know, like they were delaying stuff and not getting codes and stuff to the early backers and all that. So, oh well.
So let me ask you this question. Now that Xbox has made this move, do you think that puts any sort of pressure on Sony to make any changes to its offerings of PlayStation Plus and its separate service, PlayStation Now?
Yeah, I think everything they do puts pressure on them. It's just not enough pressure. They like, you know, whether you think so or not, it's true that Xbox, as far as its gaming console division, it's on the back foot, you know, versus Sony, it's on the back foot. 40-ish million units, maybe, you know, out in the wild compared to Sony's like almost 105 million or whatever it is. And I know console doesn't matter as much when you're like trying to reach everything, but they haven't done that yet. They haven't actually, you know, really implemented this yet. So we'll see how successful it is. You and I are excited. It's the kind of thing we really want, and that we're pretty much bought in on it. But is it gonna appeal to everybody? It depends on how easy it is to get into. I hear good things, but I think Sony is in the position to wait and see still. Like if xCloud turns out to be really good, then yeah, maybe they start by doing something similar. Okay, PS Plus comes with PS Now, or it's the two of them together is a much better deal, or something like that. But if they were going to do something with PS Now specifically, since that's the most analogous to Project xCloud, I think they would have done it.
It's also the most analogous to Game Pass.
That's true. Yeah, because there's a lot of third-party stuff on there. And you can download the PS4 games, right?
Yeah, you can download, I think, natively the PS4. I know you can download the PS4 games. I know you cannot download the PS3.
Right.
I want to say you could download some PS2, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Dude, if Game Pass worked for older games, like in the prior generations, that would be so cool.
I can't imagine that it won't. Because Phil Spencer put out his letter today, and he was like, you can play 4 generations worth of games on the new Xbox. So somehow or another, I don't know if it's via backwards compatibility or streaming or what, but you're going to be able to play
back compat.
Xbox.
Yeah, back compat. But I meant like as a PC guy who's not going to buy an Xbox, I want to be able to have like access to all the 360 titles and all of the
that would be cool.
The OG Xbox titles, if somehow possible. You know, like I know that is a big ask to transfer, you know, games built on architectures that were never designed to be, you know, ported to modern PCs and stuff, but a man can dream.
Sure. And Xbox did start selling their games on Steam, so there may be legs there, even if it's not through Game Pass. But circling back to the Sony discussion, do you think there will ever come a time where Sony offers its first-party games on PlayStation Now, even if they don't combine the services? Because that's something that Microsoft has been really good about. You know, they know that they make their money on software sales, and so like one of their strategies, at least thus far, is to try to publish everywhere that they can. And obviously we saw Outer Worlds was a little bit of a weird situation because that acquisition of Obsidian came after they already had a publishing partner for that game. So that one did come to PS4. But like, how do you see this next gen going? Do you think Microsoft will still continue to have console exclusives? And then the other part of the question, do you think Sony will ever put its first party exclusives on PS Now day and date?
No, for the day and date thing, not until sales slow down on a whole. Because, like, I mean, you might start seeing select titles, but like, you know, maybe smaller projects that they're publishing, but maybe they didn't develop internally. But with The Last of Us selling record numbers and pretty much every single exclusive except for Days Gone, like the last 4 of them just keep breaking records. They're just not going to do that. They're not going to give up that full fat $60 to be $70 a pop, especially when so much is going digital these days. We have already seen them start to allow things like God of War and Horizon Zero Dawn onto PS Now, but even that's like a limited time thing where like you can only play it for like 3 to 4
3 months.
It's kind of, at that point, it's kind of silly. It's like, come on, guys.
I agree.
You're only charging $20 for it at the most with all of its DLC, if there is any. What are you doing?
Right.
Stop.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That is really frustrating because like Josh doesn't have a PS4, and he was just telling me the other day, like, I'd really love to play God of War. He's not going to buy a PS4 right now for it. So if that had been on PlayStation Now, they probably would have got $20 to $40 out of him for like 2 months of PlayStation Now. Well, now they're getting nothing. So
I want to help Josh now. I'm like, oh, can I give him my? I was like, if he's got a good enough connection and PC, he could try playing on, what do you call it? Play Anywhere? What is it?
Oh yeah.
Share play, and then like,
yeah, but that knocks you off once an hour.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, what are you gonna do? Sorry, Josh.
It would be easier. You know what, Josh? Talk to my dad because he has Greg's OG PS4, which he never uses. So maybe my dad will let you borrow the OG PS4, pick up a copy of Horizon for like $5 at GameStop. You'll be in business.
Boom. Done.
Problem solved. We do what Sony can't. And also, Sean, sorry we talked about Josh for so long.
Yeah, sorry, Sean.
He's driving across Canada just like white knuckling the steering wheel like, I can't believe they talk about, they're not talking about me, this is crap.
Crying into his buffalo friends' giant manes. Sorry, bison and Mounties is what he's telling us he's seeing. Drinking tea with Mounties. Mountie. All right, so that was the Xbox news. We're excited. That's in September, so very soon. 2 months, 1 more week. We've got the Xbox showcase. So, Jason mentioned earlier, outside of this, not on the podcast, we were talking about like why not do that in that particular announcement? Why not have that announcement later next week during that event? And I don't know. Hopefully, and my assumption is that this is small potatoes by comparison, and it is also not the kind of thing that grabs people, except for people like us. But it's not flashy. It's cool, and it's got to definitely change the game, I think, going forward. But it isn't flashy. But again, I hope it just means that the things that they do have prepared are even more mind-blowing. So
I thought about this on the way home today, and what I think is I'm in agreement with you that it makes more sense to get this kind of thing out now because this is the piece of the puzzle that we don't know about from Sony. We don't know how their services are going to work next gen. We don't know anything about like the nuts and bolts of it, and people like you and me, we're craving that. Well, Xbox is, because Phil Spencer wrote a very lengthy letter that covered more than just this. Now, this was probably the biggest news out of that letter, but a lot of it was set up for next week's showcase. So I think this was a really smart move to go ahead and get out in front of this and say, here's how all this is going to work. This is the context for all the games we're going to show you next week. All Sony did was like boom, 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 games, which a lot of people love because that was our E3 replacement, but we're left questioning a lot. Whereas Xbox gave us that information on the front end, and now we can just go enjoy the show knowing the context that it's the setting that it's setting in. So anyway, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yep. So I agree with all that, except for the part where they probably won't tell us the price. and all that stuff they did won't mean anything when everyone's like, but what does it cost? Of course, that's Sony didn't do that either, so I think Xbox not doing it, like if they do it, it'll be big props, unless it's too expensive. But if they don't do it, they'll be like, well, Sony didn't either, so I think they actually benefit going second in this case because of that.
Agreed, yeah.
All right, so that's Xbox news. Over the previous weekend, Ubisoft or Ubisoft? How do you say it?
I don't want to. No comment.
No comment. Oh, he's just leaving me out. All right, fine.
Plead the fifth.
Oh man, my voice cracked. Didn't work. Anyway, Ubisoft. I'm going to switch it up every time I say it. Okay. Had their I don't remember what they called it, Ubi Play or something stupid like that. Their event, and they talked about the games that they have coming. We didn't watch it. We don't really care, but there a couple things that came out of that. Assassin's Creed Valhalla got its release date. It is November 17th, which I think is the day before Cyberpunk releases.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I know. I mean, that's fine. It's only a conundrum for me because I was going to say I wanted to grab a month of Uplay Plus and check out the new Assassin's Creed, but now if I might not if Cyberpunk's right there the next day.
Yeah, like November is getting crowded because my friend, he's a huge Destiny guy. And Destiny 2 had its next big expansion patch thing pushed from September to November as well. And I'm sure there's a game or two I'm not remembering right now. And who knows? Nintendo's probably got something planned for this fall that we'll find out later this month or next month. And it's like I said, it's getting crowded. So anyway, that's when that's coming. I'm probably gonna pass. I didn't know about the what did you call it? Their
Uplay Plus.
Uplay Plus. That's what, their PC subscription service, or?
Yeah, I don't know if it's on consoles. Yeah, it's definitely on PC. It's akin to all the other subscription services. $15 a month, and you get access to all of Ubisoft's library, all the DLCs, all the everything. Tyler and I did it a couple months, and we played games like the Far Cry 5 DLC, and we played. What's the Division 2 and things like that. So it was fun.
Cool. Yep. I know that they talked about Watch Dogs 3. Did you catch a date on that?
Nope.
Okay. I think it's still next year. I think they pushed it back even. I think that's not coming anytime soon.
What is it? Watch Dogs Legion?
Yes. But that is also coming. Again, something I don't have really any interest in. The day before this little conference thingy, Far Cry 6 was leaked. Not by like people who like had found out. I think it was like kind of one of those accidents where one of the people involved, like the star or some of the talent, were just kind of like, yeah, this game, it's totally coming out and I'm in it. Not knowing that, hey, maybe you don't talk about that until we're ready or something like that.
Right.
But Far Cry 6 is coming out. It will be the bad guy will be Giancarlo Esposito, who was the villain from Breaking Bad, Gus Fring. So if you've ever seen that show and love that character, you know that he really knows how to be a bad guy, and so that's kind of cool.
Oh my gosh, the trailer was.
I didn't watch it.
Chilling, man. I mean, it was so intense. I'm going to talk about the trailer.
Go ahead.
First of all, and I think this is pretty common with Far Cry games, but the trailer looked incredible. Like it was really, when they revealed, because they did not reveal Gus Fring, I'm just going to call him Gus Fring right away. They kind of had like shadows on his face or to show the back of his head until a certain point in the trailer. Once they showed him, I was like, is that mocap or is that live action? I mean, it looked really, really good. So it starts out with a little boy. It's obviously in like it looks like maybe Cuba or something. I don't know what country it's set in. It's probably a fictional Latin America country if I had to guess. But he's a little boy. He's like in this giant like formal dining area, and he's putting together a model car. And his dad comes in, and he's like, "Oh," and that's Gus Fring, but we don't know that yet. And he's like, "Hey, it looks good." And then he like starts talking to him. He's like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like talking to him about how he's gonna one day be the president. He's like, I'm the president, which means one day you'll be the president, which is, I thought was kind of funny because they have like a succession, like a succession for the quote unquote president. So you could tell it's not a democracy. And he hands his son a grenade, and he says the grenade's composed of three parts. You've got like the explosive part, you've got the handle, and you've got the pin. And he puts it in his hand, and the kid grasps the grenade, and he's holding the handle down. And as he's telling him about the pin, he pulls the pin out, and his son starts freaking out. And he's like, "Yep, calm down. The pin just holds the handle in place, but as long as you're holding the handle, it won't explode." And then he's like, he keeps the pen, the grenade is like ready, and he's like, "Follow me." And so they go up these stairs, and he starts monologuing about how, like, kind of like the role of a dictator, how you have to, like, your people don't know what they need to be happy, and you're trying to make them happy, and no matter what they do, they're gonna hate you. No matter what you do as a leader, they're gonna hate you. And so like you have options of essentially like taking it or fighting back. And so they're walking to the top of these stairs, and they open this door, and they're out on this balcony, and there is a riot going on down in the streets below, and the kid's still holding the grenade, trying not to drop it, and he basically makes the kid throw the grenade out into the riot. And oh my God, it's just so intense and it's so well done. And like the cinematography is great. I liked this trailer probably more than the Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I really liked that trailer too. But like, one thing's for sure, Ubisoft knows how to do a trailer. Like they're firing on all cylinders.
It's too bad that game's gonna suck.
You suck.
What? No, dude. Tell me. Okay, that the trailer that you just described, because I didn't watch it, that sounds amazing. Give me a game, and so did this Far Cry 5 one. There was so much promise based around the premise,
and Far Cry 5 was fun, dude.
But okay, but it's fine that it's fun, but don't give me this trailer and this idea of like an amazing like villain that you're gonna really come. But no, because you're not going to come up against him. He's just gonna be in the background like some talking head. You'll probably barely ever interact with him, and then it's just gonna be the Far Cry formula all over again. And like that's fine. It's not my cup of tea, and it's fine. But it's not like. It's like somebody's making this, like there's a disconnect between what you end up getting and the kind of story and experience this trailer is telling you you're going to have. You know, you're not going to play as the bad guy and you're never, like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, stop making such good trailers.
I mean, I kind of see what you're saying for an open world game. Like, it's hard to handle, in my opinion. It's kind of hard to handle a heavily narrative driven story in an open world setting.
It is, but it doesn't have to be, because they're making no strides to try to bridge the gap.
Well, because I don't think they want to.
No, they don't. They don't. But like I won't play their games until they do. And I don't think you would lose that many people as long as you didn't drift from the formula too much. I'm not asking for The Last of Us. I don't want that. I already have that. But I don't know. Yeah.
I think the story is better than you're giving it credit for. It is definitely not The Last of Us, but it's decent. I mean,
I'm not saying the story's bad. I'm saying the trailer you described, the one I remember from Far Cry 5, compared to people's receptions, because I haven't played them, so I can't really say, there's a disconnect. Like there's just, I feel like there's a piece they could insert that would just elevate it all around. You know, like you could have Game of the Year contender right here.
I agree, and you know what game does that really well?
What?
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Exactly. It would be a lot more like that, a little less like that, but in a Far Cry way, basically. It would be Far Cry's version of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, that's what they need. That is the disconnect, is the level of like the cutscenes and the way that you have some agency during some of the cutscenes, but it's very cinematic, and I don't know, it's close, but it's not quite there.
Also, first person sucks.
Well, oh, okay, yeah. I was gonna say Grand Theft Auto is not in first person, but
no.
Yeah, but Far Cry is, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, well,
anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm really excited about this. It releases February 18th of next year. It's gonna be a day one buy for me. The one thing I don't know is, do I want to shell out the $70 for a next gen game, or do I want to pay $15 to try it out first with their Uplay Plus? Because I think with the Uplay Plus comes a discount on games that you.
Like
so I don't know how I'm going to
do
it. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to handle that. I know Tyler's probably just going to straight up buy it because I know we're going to be playing it a lot.
Yeah.
But on principle, I'm torn. So
yeah, it sounds like they could at least improve the way they do their co-op. Because I just remember a lot of people complaining, like, it's good, and you did it either last week or the week before. Like, it's good, but it could be way better.
I like the way they do the progression. I like the way that it actually works every single time. The only thing I don't like is the mission structure. And like when you get down to the nitty gritty of the checkboxy missions, stifling your progress in the story, that's the part that bothers me.
Sure.
So yeah, I think there's definitely some improvement to be made, but they are close.
Sure.
They're close. And I love Far Cry 5. And I mean, just to be fair, but obviously there's always room for improvement. So.
Yeah, and they've that February window is always a good one, especially for, I feel like, Ubisoft, and some of their really big titles, because like this game couldn't. I don't know. It depends on what comes out next year. We don't have a lot of data on what's coming out next year.
Sure,
but this is next. Yeah, it would have to be. It's going to be a next gen game. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, so check it out in 7 months. All right. Last bit of news is the embargo for Ghosts of Tsushima released or lifted earlier this week, and it's getting a lot of high praise from most outlets. Really nothing lower than 7, but mostly in the 8.5 to 9 range. Just a couple 10s, but from what I've seen of this game and the way people describe it, I don't really think anybody who's giving it a 10 is being honest with themselves, basically.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of where we knew this was going to fall, and I'm happy for them. And if you look back at the review scores and the Metacritic scores for their Infamous games, especially like Second Son, this is right in line with that. So calibrate your expectations, but this looks like it could be a fun game.
Yeah, go read some reviews. It looks like they nail the story. It might, again, the narrative itself might not be like super groundbreaking, but the presentation, they wanted to make a fairly high budget, somewhat open world samurai game inspired by Akira Kurosawa, and they hit that. They nailed that. Like the Japanese reviewers are like in love with this game. People,
which is really cool. People were worried about that because people were worried that's like, okay, well, this is a development team that's all white. And this
not all
is
white, but the American Western
American. Sorry, Western, and they it's not historically accurate.
It's not
so
perfectly accurate. It is
right.
It is still like grounded in reality for the most part, but yes, it is a kind of like alternate reality history take.
Right. It wasn't totally true to the time period, blah blah blah. So people tend to get touchy with that when it's their culture. So I know people were interested in how Japanese reviewers would react, and it seems like it's overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. So that releases tonight at midnight, actually, Friday the 17th. By the time you listen to this, it'll be out by now. But I will be getting this, just not right away. Pumping the brakes on any like major console game right now that's going to take a long time to play after finishing The Last of Us, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And I've got some Harvest Moon to play, so I'm busy. My hands are full. Woo-hoo. But I'll be getting it. I'll be getting it for sure.
I got to finish up The Last of Us anyway. So
you do. And if I can hold off just long enough, I think it'll go on sale before like the next major game, which would probably be Cyberpunk.
You're going to hold off that long?
No. I'm saying between now and then, I think there might be a sale, and I might be able to get it on PSN.
Okay, we'll talk about this offline. You're killing me, Holmes.
All right, yeah, whatever. All right, so that does it for the news. Jason, I finished The Last of Us, and I got a new game, so I'm content. I don't wish I was playing anything else. At least I don't think so, because if I did, you erased it, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is anymore. So, what do you wish you were playing?
The only thing I have here for what I wish I was playing, the only gap in my gaming life right now is I kind of miss playing games with, I have one group, I have you and Sean and Robert, then we were playing some games for a while together, and then separately I had Josh and Kane, and I haven't gamed with them in forever. So I'm going to say Astronaut with you, specifically with Astroneer. Sorry, Astroneer, specifically with you, Sean and Robert, and then separately Dauntless, specifically with Josh and Kane. Those are the two games I wish I was playing, and not so much for the games themselves as much as for the experience of hanging out with those people. And as for like a single player experience game, one that's already out that I feel like I just missed out on that I don't think I've ever mentioned in this segment before, you beat it. Control. Just because I want to jump in and see what it's all about. And I feel like a lot of people are like, I know at launch people were saying there were performance issues, but there is a new thing that just got released in the last few months on NVIDIA graphics cards called DLSS 2.0. And it kind of goes hand in hand with, first of all, the RTX card, which I don't have an RTX card, but also with ray tracing. And it's AI rendering. And people are saying the performance in Control, it's one of the 5 games that supports DLSS 2.0. People are saying that it does a pretty tremendous job of making that game look great. And so I kind of just, for the sake of that, I wish I was playing it. And also just seemed like a really cool Remedy game, like with fun combat and a weird story that I just want to experience at some point. So if we ever get a lull, I might circle back to that if there's a good sale on it.
I wish I had time to replay that game, because it was kind of a whirlwind because I played it really fast, especially for how I normally play console games. But overall, I did enjoy it. There were some incredibly frustrating moments, just from like a mechanic standpoint. Like most battles are fluid, and then just some of them were just like, ugh, you're the worst. You're just everything that's wrong with video games right now. The story you experience with the characters and the voice acting, and all that, like the overarching narrative, it's fine. The world itself, though, is much better. Unfortunately for you, most of that's in text. You pick up these documents and you'll pick up this thing happened in nowhere, Texas, and then huge chunks of it are redacted, and you're just reading pieces of the document, and it's either humorous or creepy or maybe does pertain to the main story.
Oddly, I'm finding I don't mind that as much these days. I read a lot of the lore in the Outer Worlds, and I'm reading a lot of the lore in The Last of Us. I'm hungry for it. I see these dead bodies, and I'm like, what happened here? And if I could find a little scrap of paper or something that's it seems like every dead body almost in The Last of Us 2 has a note that comes with it. And
there were a lot of notes.
Yeah, it's a little suspicious, but at the same time, I'm like, ooh, I just like finding out the gossip. Okay. So I feel like I'd be down for that.
Okay, that's great, because you're never reading pages of stuff at a time. Sometimes in Skyrim, you would open entire books.
I was literally about to say that. I was like, I'm not the guy that's going to pick up a book in Skyrim and read a friggin' 50-chapter book in Skyrim.
The Witcher did that too.
Yeah, so that's not my style. But if there's these little bits and pieces, or I love the audio logs and stuff like that in Horizon or in BioShock, I'm totally down with that. And I love the environmental storytelling. It just can't be overwhelming. It can't, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, check that out as soon as you can then, because like I said, it's worth a play, especially at whatever price it is these days.
Probably the end of this year, probably after Cyberpunk, there's going to be a gap in that Christmas kind of area.
It's sometimes you play a game, you're like, that was fun. I can't wait to see the sequel, though, because they're going to make this shine. And, assuming they don't just drop the ball completely, just do the good things, take out the bad, and replace it with something awesome.
Isn't that what we all have to do with our lives?
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep doing all the good stuff you're doing and stop doing all the bad stuff you're doing.
Every day we wake up is the sequel.
Right?
All right. So,
sequel of ourselves.
I will say that philosophy.
What will you say, Karch?
I will say that I will second. I miss playing with friends. We'd been playing D&D for a while, but our DM's on the road, so we can't do that. And then we didn't replace it with anything. So maybe this Sunday, you and I should do a little of that.
Streets of Rage 2.
That's
Sunday.
The one. Yep.
Yes.
Sunday. Let's make it happen.
It's a date.
Sweet. Love you. All right. So, Jason, what have you actually been playing?
Well, I just talked for a while. Do you want to talk about what you've actually been playing?
All right,
or maybe we can talk about something we've both been playing.
Let's do that. Let's tag team this Last of Us 2 here.
Okay, so for everyone's context, Karch has finished the game. I am 13.25 hours in, and so I'm a little over halfway.
Yep, which is interesting because I beat it in less than 20. So
you sprinted through the whole game,
dude. I must have. I don't know. I just I don't know.
What? Yeah, tell me what you can tell me without being spoilery, because we're gonna have a spoiler cast in the next month here.
Yep. All right. So the game is very good. It's a very, very good game. It may be even great on the Karch Palashti scale of games that he made up one day. It goes perfect, which is just this kind of I'll call any game perfect if I feel like it, and it might not even be that good. Most of the time they are, but it's not a guaranteed 10 out of 10 kind of situation. Then we have great, which is a 9 or a 10 basically. We have good, and then so forth and so on. So it's we're hovering somewhere in between the good and great range for me personally, and yet at the same time, it's almost a perfect game because I truly do appreciate that there's nothing like this game aside from, of course, its predecessor. Not even the Uncharted series is anything like this game. There's no one making games like this. And that well too. On top of that, like, it's obviously a well-made game. It is a mostly well-told story. It accomplishes exactly what it sets out to do in a way that most games would never dream of. And like, that's the highest praise I can give it. There are a lot of other nice things I can say about it.
I was gonna say, what's the but there? Because I'm feeling a but.
There's no but. It's just not, like, after almost 20 hours of this game. I don't know. It's just, there's just not enough game, I guess. I don't mean that derogatory, but it's just, I've got a preference. I've got a preference in games I like to play, and it just doesn't have it all, and I don't love the story. It's too long, like those kinds of things. It is a heavy story, which you can't just always jump into. I mean, I pushed through, so, and I didn't always want to play, when I had a chance, but I also didn't want to have this hanging over my head, or even worse, not finish it because I got too far away from it. Mm-hmm. And because it's so narrative heavy, it's good to have those moments fresh in your mind, so you're going from one basically episode to episode without having to be like, what was I doing?
For sure, yeah. So and I came up against that because I took like a week off, and I came back. I was like, oh crap, where am I? What am I doing? Mm-hmm. What happened? So I totally get that. That's the kind of the drawback of these, is you kind of have to binge them almost.
Yeah, the gameplay's good. It's really good. It's really polished, but it's just dull isn't the right word. But by the end, it's, man, I've done this like a million times, but I don't want anything new either, because there's a couple parts where they do throw some stuff at you that's like, it's very familiar, but then you start to do the things you normally would have, and it's like, nope, that doesn't work here. And you're like, come on, don't do that.
Right.
Or like, or here is there is an encounter that is just like, nope, this is new, and guess what? You're never doing it again. And it's like, God, no, why? Why are you doing this? But at the same time, again, like, I don't know. It's like, I just don't want to do 20 hours of like stealthy, stabby, shooty. Like, it's just too, like, there's, like, from the get-go, yeah, you get upgrades and you get new weapons, but from the get-go, it does not evolve at all. Like, not at all does this game evolve in any way mechanically. And I don't like how puzzle heavy it is and stuff, but
I'll tell you what, I mean, I want to say this from the get. I am really enjoying this game so far, and I feel like in some ways I find myself hoarding this game to a higher standard because of how well received the the original game was, because of how much hype went into this game, because of the backlash when people found out the spoiler, whatever the spoiler is. You and I still need to talk about what the quote unquote spoiler was offline, because I still don't really know what all got spoiled. I still don't know, because I only think I encountered one thing, but we'll talk about that later. Like, just you and me. We're not going to talk about it on this podcast today. But so I want to preface everything I'm about to say by saying I'm really enjoying this game, and I was a little bit lukewarm on it from the beginning because I felt like it started so slow compared to the first game, and because I just felt like it was dragging, and maybe some of that plays into the whole this game was too long thing. But as I'm getting in 13.25 hours in, I'm really enjoying the encounters. I'm really enjoying the combat. I'm really enjoying the freedom that it gives you that the first game didn't, the options that you have that the first game didn't give you those degrees of freedom. But what I will say, one thing that's frustrating is, like you said, how puzzle heavy it is, because I find myself just in a room and I'll spend 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out where the heck I'm supposed to go before it finally gives me the hint. And it's like we've talked about, it's that rope on the wall. It's that air vent that's up in the corner of the room that you walked by 10 times without noticing. And I'm just like, this was so superfluous. Like, I didn't need to do, like, this did not have to be this hard. You could have made it a little bit more obvious, just because it's I don't know why you would think that was fun for me to try to walk around these 4 rooms for 20 minutes trying to find this one little hole. Like, it's stupid.
Yeah, and part of the problem is because it looks so good, but you're not used to games being so interactive and looking so good. Like usually all that scenery and that design is kind of just this backdrop, but it's like, no, you can crawl through that hole. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can't. And once you see it, you're like, yeah, I know I can do that, and I should have known that.
Right.
Every now and then, this game does start to, but it's like, I can climb a lot of stuff, but I certainly can't climb everything. And it's just not clear with the things that I'm not allowed. Like sometimes the boundaries,
totally,
like, it's not clear where you're not allowed to go. And so you try going there and like, whoops, guess I couldn't do that.
Yeah. Like I was at a part like that 2 nights ago, and I'm not going to spoil anything. I'll just go high level here, but I was trying to get past a gate, and if I would go to the left of the buildings and go around, like I would there's a fence there, but then I just encounter a bush, just a bush. You walk through all sorts of forestry in this game, but I can't go through this one bush. I can't walk through this bush. And then I go to the right, all the way to the right. I have the same exact problem. And then there's a building in the middle. So I go to the building in the middle, and I'm in there, and it's like a bathroom, and I can't figure out, like, there's no holes, there's no air vents, there's no nothing. I can't get in the stalls. The stalls are closed. There's no option to open those. And I go out, and I go in, and I go out, and I'm walking everywhere. And finally I get the friggin' hint 20 minutes later, and it's like, oh, you gotta crack this window that's like way up there that you never even knew was there. I'm like, oh, okay.
I will say that very early on, I started breaking glass left and right because I love breaking glass in this game. It is one of my most favorite dumb little things. Like, ooh, can I smash this? Boom, smash that. Boom, smash that.
It is kind of annoying that you can't smash all the glass, and I get it. Like sometimes you're in a hospital or something, and there's shatter-free glass or whatever, or you're in a school or whatever it is. You're in a corporate, you're in like a public building, and you can't shatter. And then other times you can. I've always been afraid that the shattering the glass is going to attract enemies, but maybe I should start fearing that less.
Like 9 times out of 10, you can break, assuming there's, of course, you're not in the middle of an encounter. You can break glass, but every now and then there's going to be something on the other side. To our point, but you brought it up most recently, the puzzle stuff does go, to its credit, the game's credit, I mean, it goes down considerably in the second half. Like, for the most part, like I think they do realize, like, oh, we really want to tell this story this specific way, but we also know this is gonna feel fatiguing, and so they kind of start streamlining things.
Good. Like, I'm probably just getting to that point.
Right. Like what starts out as certainly not an open world, but a far more like expanded sandboxy, like, all right, yeah, look in every nook and cranny, starts to narrow in focus, and they start kind of shoving you down just the quote unquote the hallway, but never in a bad way. And in fact, basically based on what we're saying, that's exactly what we're looking for. So there's too much to loot. There's so much distraction, even on the easy mode when I'm almost but we'll talk more we'll go into detailed dislikes later.
Yeah, we're getting a little in the weeds.
But
speaking of dislikes, if we're ready to move on from The Last of Us Part 2.
Tell me what else you don't like.
I hate to say this, and I know I've been really high on Borderlands 3 the last 2 weeks, but Borderlands 3, man, we played again last night, Tyler and I, and it just got stale. And, we finally made our way off of that ship we were drunkenly stuck on. It turns out the reason we got stuck on it is because the mini-map is god-awful. Do you remember how bad the map was in Doom?
Yeah, it's not a good map.
That is exactly how the Borderlands 3 map is. So it's flat, like in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. I'm trying to do it with my hand here. It's totally flat. It's totally flat. Right. And that's it. And you could be in a building or a ship that has literally 5 floors. There's a dot up here, and you literally cannot tell which floor that dot is on. So how do you tell? Well, it'd be cool if it just like maybe told you some easy or simple way, or maybe there was a marker on the HUD where you could tell what level it was on. Not so much. You have to go into the actual full screen map, and then you have to like right click and drag that map from flat to 3D, and then you can go in and kind of tell what layer or level that the objective's on. and there's no toggle between layers. Like, you know, in Doom, there's like in the upper right hand corner, there's like a first floor, second floor, third floor, kind of like Zelda, and you could toggle the levels.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist in this, as far as we can tell. So you just have to kind of drag it sideways and count manually and then figure out where you are and then navigate to it. And it's really, really poorly implemented. And then once we got off the ship, we've learned that this game has kind of narrowed in scope a ton. And I don't know if it's just the point of the game that we're at, or if this is just how the rest of the game is going to be, because there's not really a good story in this game. Like, I'm definitely not playing this game for the story. And so, like, I'm playing it for the loot, which you want a good grind and you want a good gameplay loop, but I'm just getting these endless waves of enemies, almost like Halo style. And I just, in 2020, that doesn't really feel fresh, because the enemies, like, they'll go down and they're kind of bullet sponges. They'll go down and it might take 5 or 6 headshots to kill a friggin' minion. And it's really easy to run out of ammo. And like, you have no ability to choose your approach when going into a mission. There's no stealth. There's no flanking. There's no nothing. It is waves of enemies, and then you just have to deal with it, and that's it.
Well, okay, so regarding that last point just now, I mean, did Borderlands ever give you a choice on how to handle an encounter aside from your abilities? Like,
no,
you know, like
I don't think so. And so maybe that's not a fair knock at the game. It's just not, just coming from Far Cry, it's not what we wanted.
Sure.
I'm not saying you have to have these complex stealth mechanics, but like, it just feels like I'm just going from point A to point B. As soon as I get to point B, a million things see me, and then I just have to kill it all mercilessly and basically using the same gun in one attack. Like, I have a gun, I have a pet, and I have a special, and that's it. And so it just kind of gets, there's not a great cover system, like a cover shooter. Like, you can't like hide behind the wall and then pop out. The maps are not designed in such a way that you can come at it from different angles. It very much is, you're walking down this way and then you're going to encounter this field of enemies and then you're just going to kill them all. And that's it. That's the gameplay loop. So it became stale quick when you're coming from a game like Far Cry.
Sounds like Borderlands. I mean, like, I've never...
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong. It's just that I've never played Borderlands, so...
I thought you played 2.
I played I never got past the first mission. I played the first mission of 2 with several different people. I could never get anyone to keep playing with me, so I never kept playing.
Well, then this all makes more sense then. For some reason, I thought you'd played a large chunk of 2. And so for you to then kind of turn around and go like, what happened to my Borderlands? No, this makes more sense. No, that's
not what I'm saying.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is what the beginning seemed to promise didn't end up fleshing out. No, I will say, like, I still am enjoying the upgrade system. I think the skill tree is well done. I think the weapon stats are like, the way that they handle weapon upgrades is really cool. The loot system is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So is
it enough though?
I don't know. I don't think we're done with this. I just think we are growing tired of it.
How much did you pay for it again?
$28.
That's kind of steep for a game that you're already feeling about.
We're probably 3 hours in. We'll probably give it 1 or 2 more sessions and see how we feel.
Sounds good.
Because if it opens back up, then I think we're going to be more inclined to play, because you do have that option of like, oh, let's get a vehicle, let's go here, let's do this. Right now, it very much is like, talk to this person, go to this place, kill these people. Talk to this person, go to this place, kill these people. That's getting a little old. If it could open up a little bit more like it was in the beginning, I think we'll be happier.
I'm a chronic armchair gamer, as in I listen and consume a lot of people's opinions, and I think you're probably just in a section like this. If I had to guess, based on my memory of people talking about this game, you'll probably get back to where you were, like stylistically. Like,
I think so too.
The thing you want to happen will happen.
Yeah, I hope so. So, I mean, we're not giving up on it yet, but I have to tell you, there is a slow section for anyone out there that's thinking about giving this game a chance. obviously update after we play more. I'm sure we'll play more next week.
And you're relatively early, even for a game that probably doesn't, like, at least the campaign isn't that long. You're still only 3 hours in, so that's not that long.
We're super early. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
what about you, Karch? Did you play anything else?
I did. I have been waiting for this game for a while. I think they announced it like 2 years ago. But Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town remake for the Switch and PC, I believe, came out on Tuesday. Now, this was originally released as Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town, but due to legal reasons with publisher nonsense, the Harvest Moon series is now branched off and now referred to as Story of Seasons. Anyway, so I got that. This game was originally on the Game Boy Advance and was a remake of the PlayStation 1 Harvest Moon game, Back to Nature. So this is a port.
Whoa.
Like, this is like, we're now in like the second generation of remakes. It's
okay, so it was a PS1 game that was ported to Game Boy Advance. That's now being...
Not ported, because obviously Game Boy Advance isn't going to play a PS1 game. It was like a total remake, and they added stuff to it and made it playable on that handheld. But yes, and now it's been remade again onto the Switch and a couple.
Seeded more from the Game Boy Advance version or more from the PS1 version?
More from the Game Boy Advance version.
Okay.
So, which, you could still draw a line straight back to the PS1 version. Anyway, I love this series. If anybody's listened to me before, I love these kinds of games. Stardew Valley has been my game of the year for like 4 years running now, I think. So, and for the longest time, I was wondering if the people who originated, the company responsible for these games had finally been ousted by one dude who used to love these games. And for at least this game, they've definitely, given me some hope that maybe going forward, their new titles will be good again, because I haven't played like the last 3 or so, because they just kept getting more... It's really hard to explain without going into the history, if you don't know these games, but my biggest detractor was simply the aesthetic. The aesthetic of the games in the past were always it's always been cute, like never not been cute. Everything's round and chubby and like kind of like babyish. But then stuff started getting really anime. Like characters started looking really, really anime, and not in a good way. Just generic and stupid. And you got characters that look like little girls, like actual little girls, like 7, 8, 9, and you're able to marry them, and they can have a kid. And they're like, nope. I'm not doing this anymore.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Exactly. Like back on the 64 or the PS1, the best way I've been able to describe it, and I'm actually proud of myself because I finally came up with like a way to describe it. They looked like adults who were just kind of like little people, the toys, the little people toys.
Right.
You can tell that that's a man. He looks like a cartoonish man, but he's a man, and that's a woman of at
least... Like Bob the Builder.
Exactly. Of at least 18, 19, 20. And there are old people, too. And obviously they're old because their skin is wrinkly and they have gray hair. But you don't play those people. My point is, like, there was just this kind of, like, more grounded, down-to-earthness to them. And technically, back then, that was a quote-unquote anime style. But, like, anime hadn't gotten to where it is now. So it's kind of weird to say, like, that was too Japanese and this is not so Japanese. Anyway, they modeled this game after the older games, and so I really appreciate that return to the aesthetic. On top of that, it's the same game, which was already really, really good, except they've added more to it. There's some quality of life changes. Obviously, it's in, really good, polished 3D graphics, which is really cool. You can save anywhere, which is the one quality of life change that they have over Stardew Valley. So traditionally, these games, you can only save when you go to sleep. Not that that's a huge deal, because days don't last that long. They're only anywhere between like 5 and 15 minutes. And then you start the next day and so forth and so on. But it is kind of nice that, like, I don't know what's going to happen if I do this thing. So let me go ahead and save, and I will go ahead and throw this crop into this river and see what happens. Because this game, or this series, has a history of just weird little secrets like that. So
let me ask you a question.
Yes, please.
But aside from the saving thing, what are the biggest differences between this and Stardew Valley?
Let's see.
Because
Graphics.
to me, like a farming sim is a farming sim to an extent. Like Harvest Moon. I remember playing Harvest Moon on the Super Nintendo, and I remember obviously playing Stardew Valley 2 years ago on the Switch, and they seemed so similar to me.
Yeah, and if you had played Stardew, if you had remembered how basic Harvest Moon was, and you'd played more of Stardew Valley, you would have seen the enormous strides and differences.
Sure, and that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. So the difference between this game and Stardew Valley, it's fun. It's hard. Again, it's hard to describe, but like for the most part, not a lot. I think the biggest difference is Stardew Valley is, I wouldn't call that game cute. There's some cute factors to it, but for the most part, that game has like quote unquote adult characters who have some of them have very real problems. Some of them have like, whatever problems, but a lot of those characters are kind of like depressing, and they're waiting for you to save their life. Like the town is just podunk, and they're about to give in to the Walmart analogy, and and give into their corporate greed, and they're just going to basically buy the town out from under them because they just can't muster the spirit to do anything for themselves. And there's like a war going on. Like there's this very like backdrop story where there's another country, and one of the characters comes back after like a year in game. He's like, yeah, I was on the front lines, and he has PTSD, and it's like, whoa, this isn't Harvest Moon, it's something else entirely. Yeah. So that's the first biggest difference. It looks like an SNES game, intentionally, and partially because it was just made by one dude who'd never made a video game before. There's no combat in the Friends of Mineral Town. If you go into the mines where you can like dig stuff up and hit rocks for like ores and gems and whatnot, there are enemies and you can kill them, which is something that people really love about Stardew Valley and they want more of. For me personally, I don't love the combat because that's not why I play those games. I don't want to go kill stuff. Like why is that in there? It's why I don't play Rune Factory, which is an offshoot of the Harvest Moon series, and combat and weapons and the RPG stuff is a huge factor in that game. But for the most part, it's aesthetic. It's still a farming sim. You raise cows, sheep, chickens.
Are there parsnips?
Turnips. Turnips are the base like root vegetable.
Gotcha.
But
yeah.
no parsnips.
Okay, so that's a major difference then. I bet they're easier to plant because parsnips are notably hard to plant.
Very notably hard. Not everyone can do it. Only really good players can.
I can't. I'll tell you that.
So stupid. So stupid. So my favorite thing about this game so far, though, has been teaching my daughter how to play. So we got Animal Crossing back in March when it launched, and that was her. I mean, she played a little bit of Pokemon before, and just a couple other games here and there, but for the most part, she had never played anything for more than like a 20-minute increment. But Animal Crossing was her first. Like, I'm a big girl and I can hold the controller on my own, and I'll play this game for like an hour or 10 if you let me. And it was a great entry point because that game's super slow, and it just does not matter how long it takes you to do something. And the other benefit was that we literally shared an island. We all lived on the same place, and so we could interact with each other even if it wasn't like in that moment. Like, I could give her something and then she could log in and play, and it would be there for her. So if she was struggling trying to pay for something, I'm just like, all right, I'll drop some money on your lawn and you can pick it up and pay for it. That isn't how Harvest Moon works. It's a traditional game. Every save file is its own thing, but she gets it, but in the way that a 7-year-old gets it. And so it's just really fun to watch. Like, daddy, this and that, and I did this, and I have 4 chickens already, and blah blah blah. she's basically telling me how to play, because for the first couple of days I didn't have a lot of time to do so, but she did, obviously, being a kid out of school. And she was like way ahead of me, and I was like, oh yeah, if you do this, if you do that. And I'm having to like restrain myself from being like, you're doing it wrong. you're not playing right, because Animal Crossing has no goals. There is nothing to do except whatever you want. Harvest Moon has goals, and it has timetables. Like, you can't plant spring crops in summer and so forth. And then eventually,
why would you be able to,
Exactly. It's real. And at some point your parents are going to come by and like judge you. And I don't know why, but they will. But technically this game goes on forever, and there is no real like hard stop. And so it's still beneficial to her. Like,
that's like real life, man. Like, at some point your parents will just swing by your house to judge you, but then it just keeps going. It's like,
exactly.
Whatever. It's like it's up to you how much you want to impress them.
Why aren't you married yet? But
what about price point? Talk to me about price point. How much is this game?
This game was $50, so it wasn't full price, but it was still very expensive. And I didn't bat an eye at it, dude. I dropped that money like it was nothing.
I can't believe you're gonna do that, but you won't buy Ghost of Tsushima on day one.
It's not the price. I'm not like, oh, that's too much. It's because I just finished The Last of Us, and I don't want to be beholden to another AAA, story-heavy console game right now that I can't play when my kid's awake because it's going to be killing people left and right with swords.
Sure.
And I just Rachel was a champ. And she, to be fair, she seemed to kind of enjoy some of The Last of Us 2. She didn't really start really watching and paying attention until the second half. Anyway, she was a champ, and, I kind of barreled right through that game. Yeah. So I don't want to do that again either. But yeah, $50 for this game. It is a very interesting thing because for me, it's worth it because I love this type of game. I love this game specifically because it's nostalgic to me and it's upgraded. So it's always fun to go back to, a more easy, because I have this game on my GBA. My GBA still works, like no problem whatsoever.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I don't know how long the battery charge holds. Still holds something though.
Does it not take double A's?
No, the Game Boy Advance SP had an internal battery that you recharged.
Okay. You said GBA. Yeah, I had an SP as well. But I also have a Game Boy Color here in my top drawer that I found at my parents' house the other day. I'm sure it still works.
Yeah, just put the batteries in.
Yeah, double A's, baby.
So for me, it was no problem to do because I know that I'm going to play a lot of this game. I knew my kid was going to like it, so no big deal. It's something that I will boot up from time to time over the next, 5 to 10 years probably. Same like Stardew Valley. But speaking of Stardew Valley, because it's such an easy and obvious comparison to make, is only $15 still. And for the most part, it's usually on sale. And I can play that game anywhere. It's available on all the consoles. It's on PC, so you can mod it if you want. And then it's also on every mobile device, of the 21st century. And I
didn't know that. It's on iOS?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I might have to buy that.
Yeah,
for
It,
work.
there you go.
Just kidding. I don't even have time to I have no time at work anymore to do anything. Anyway.
Well, you should be a worse employee.
Hopefully nobody from work's listening to this. I'm a hard worker. Maybe I'll edit that out.
No, you're not.
No,
don't do it.
I don't care.
So is it worth it? I would say it's worth it if you miss Harvest Moon or quote unquote Story of Seasons. Like my sister and I used to play Harvest Moon all the time, and I know she hasn't touched one in a really long time, but she did get a Switch recently, and she loves Animal Crossing. And if she said, "Is this game worth it for $50?" I would tell her, "Yes, this is the game you loved back then. Go ahead and get it because it'll be fun, and you'll enjoy yourself." So if you are familiar with this series and you like this style maybe a little bit better than what Stardew Valley was going for, then it's worth it. If you've never touched one of these, don't buy this game. You don't know what you're getting into. That's a big ask for a very niche title, especially when you can at least kind of test run it on your phone for $15 or less. So, but then if you do like what Stardew Valley and you want to see kind of what came before it, but is still a really good kind of version of that game, then yeah, go ahead and get it.
Okay. Cool. Good insight.
Thank you. And it won't be long before it's on sale.
Yeah, I'm sure. Staying true to our pro-consumer motif here.
Motif.
And never free to play.
Ooh, motif.
What did I say?
You said motif.
Yeah, I used that correctly, right?
You did. Yeah, sort of. It's just not usually something you refer to as a podcast. That's all.
I'm going to Google that word.
Motive. 2 F's for some reason.
Define motive. It says only 1 F.
Really? I'm
That's
spelling
what
it wrong.
It says a distinctive feature or dominant idea in an artistic or literary composition. So I think it fits.
No, you are technically using that correctly.
Okay.
All right, so that's all I've been playing. I played some Breath of the Wild too, but there was nothing extra to report on that. And let's see. I feel like maybe there was one more thing.
Magic.
I'm always playing Magic, man.
I know.
I made this cool deck.
Dude, they need to make this game on mobile for you.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. My friend introduced me at work. He's got into the alpha, and he has to sign an NDA and everything. But it's from what was it? He used to play Magic. Oh, and that's it. He used to play Magic and work for Marvel Comics.
Ooh.
And so the card game is going to be like all the art for the cards is going to be very superhero comic book inspired. So that's already really cool. But then they're going to have like an actual secondary market. So you'll own the cards and you can trade and sell them to other people. And the way they're going to get around a lot of the like kind of hinky legal stuff is they're going to use blockchain technology essentially to kind of secure your ownership. Yeah, it's very cool.
See, and sorry, not to derail us here, but I feel like you could do that same thing and create a secondary digital market for pre-owned games using blockchain technology.
For sure. It's definitely something that people will
it's
look
just
to
they
in the
don't
future.
want to do it.
No, they don't.
So, whatever.
Yeah. But no, I made this cool deck. There's this new card. He's this dinky little goblin. He's got the lowest like stat line you can have. He's got 1 attack and 1 defense, which is nothing. Except he's indestructible, which means he can't be killed. And it's very difficult to remove him once you've played him. There are ways, but it's few and far between. And so he can't be killed, so he can just stop anything from hitting you by blocking it. And then he has a special ability where if you hit him, or if damage is done to him, he does that damage back to the opponent. Ooh. So you can't kill him. And so anytime they try to hurt him or hurt you, he does that damage back. And he's just this little stinker. And in the art, he's got this dumb face, and I love it because I can just imagine he hits the board, and I can just start like they take a moment because you don't see this card that often. It's not a very popular card. This is not a very good card. But when it hits the board and they don't remove it, you can just imagine the wheels turning in their head like, oh man, I can't. And he has an ability that makes him fight other creatures and stuff. So like, even if they're like, oh, I'll just ignore it, he like brings the battle to. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's such a trolly kind of card.
It's like a thorn in your side sort of strategy.
And sometimes cards you can only have one of them at a time. He does not have that restriction. And so you could technically slap 4 of them on. Like that's almost impossible, but it could technically happen. And I just love the idea of putting 4 of them and buffing. It's so much fun. So much fun.
That sounds like right up your alley.
It is. I'm loving it.
So that's something you like, but tell me, is there anything that's been bugging you this week?
Life has been bugging me, my friend.
Tell me all about it.
The hard, harsh realities of being a grown man who has to drive his family places.
I know.
I went to go see some people about a dog. And it was a long drive, 2.5 hours, there and back. So, 5 hours total on a Saturday. And it's fine, like I can do that. I don't mind driving. But then I got my kid in the back, and she's playing my Switch, and the sound is up, and I can hear it. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, what happened? I used to be that person.
That used to be you.
It used to be us, man. We had the games in the back, and now I gotta drive while she plays my Switch, and it's not fair. And then I'm at work. And I'm not actually at work. I'm on the couch or on my chair at the coffee table working on my laptop from home. And she's 3 feet away from me, playing the game that I've waited all month to play.
That's amazing.
And it's just not fair.
And she's sitting there and she's calling your friends weak.
She's calling them weak. And that's the other thing. She's like, Daddy, look at this. I'm like, I'm working. I'm not really working. I am working. But, like I can look at that, but I don't want to because I'm like, Stop rubbing it in my face, kid.
Right.
I want to play the Switch.
Oh, man. What a bummer, dude. That's why I can't wait for autonomous vehicles because then that gets us back to where we want to be.
Exactly. We're going to have Switch for everybody. No one's going to talk to each other. It's my dream.
We can play like Mario Kart or something. We can all play together.
No, I don't want to play with people.
Spend your quality family time and you're going to like it.
We are. I am. All right. I think we're going to skip the topic of the show today.
We're going to skip the topic of the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty meaty already. We spent a lot of time talking about games, which is good because this is a gaming podcast.
Yeah, so we'll save that for down the line. It's an evergreen topic, so yeah. No worries there.
Totally.
But we do have a question from our biggest fan. Sean writes in from the road, says, "Hey fellas, greetings from Canada as I continue across the continent. Greatly enjoyed having an episode to listen to this week and looking forward to the next episode on what will be the tail end of my trip. Question I've got for this week is what way of storytelling and along with what type of stories do you think video games are best suited to tell? especially when compared to other media. Thanks and take care, Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. This is going to be an interesting one because first of all, we've kind of compared video games to other types of media, and what you and I have agreed on is that video games aren't TV, video games aren't movies. But having said that, you and I are going to come at this from two different perspectives because I prefer TV shows and you prefer movies. And I think there are some parallels that could be drawn. So, like, having said that, I think you can tell a lot of different types of stories using video games as a medium. And I think the ones, I won't say what types of stories are the best suited to tell, but I will tell you the ones that I think are most unique to this medium, and what I think you just simply can't really do as well in, say, like TVs or movies, maybe a little more in books, but I'm not a big reader, so Karch would have to chime in there. And games that tell the story through environmental storytelling. So games like BioShock, where you are walking through and you find just like the rubble of a fight, and you're like, what went on here? And you find an audio diary, or games that just allow you to continue to play them and continue to have agency while it's telling you the story. I just feel like that's unachievable in any other type of media. And I'm like I said, I don't think it's necessarily the best way to tell a story. Like, it's a really cool way. I don't want to say any particular way is the best, because I also love really super narrative driven stuff like Naughty Dog makes with the Uncharted series or with The Last of Us. But I do really appreciate a good environmental storytelling game.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I think everybody appreciates. No one's going to say, stop doing that. Stop telling your story through the world you've built. It's
right.
Like, not that you're saying that they would, but it's just like, it's one of those things, like, it only ever helps the game when it's implemented well.
And what's unique to BioShock is that the majority of the storytelling is environmental, as opposed to, like, in The Last of Us parts 1 and 2, really, it is supplemental to the game. So both are cool. BioShock was more unique in that respect.
That is why I love Hollow Knight so much. Hollow Knight's story is incredibly cryptic and vague for the most part, and it's told through its environment. And the beauty of environmental storytelling, because for the most part I agree with you, as far as like the best way a story can be told in a video game would be, not necessarily type, but way, is environmental. And there's different ways to do that. With BioShock, it's, a lot of audio log stuff, from what I heard. I actually haven't played it, and I plan to soon.
I played it yet.
Yeah. But there's more to it than that. But Hollow Knight excels at this, setting a mood with music, especially. The music in Hollow Knight is beautiful, and it fits the environment, and it fits the enemies fit the environment and the music, and it's all just very cohesive. And then the whole thing just comes together too, though, because you got, in classic Metroidvania style, they're not exactly like this. The whole thing takes place underground, but you're in a crystalline mine at one point, and it's very pink, and there's like diamonds and stuff everywhere, and the enemies and the music reflect that, and the sound effects reflect that. And then there's like a mossy jungle, and then there's an even deeper Underdark, and it's just, but the whole thing gels together. And like, this is a world unto itself of bug people, and it's amazing. But almost none of that is ever just like strictly spoken to you. It's not laid out, and you wouldn't know it until you've either played the game multiple times or played through it once, and then you talk to other people about it who pick stuff up that you didn't, which is another interesting aspect of game storytelling, is that, like, and this is true of any analysis of a book, movie, or TV, but like talking to a person after the fact and getting their take on literally something that you just never saw. Like, with a book, movie, and TV, you technically all saw and read the same thing, even if you didn't pick up on something or you didn't draw, connect the dots. Like, a game, because of its agency, might have something you just didn't experience and somebody else did. And now the storytelling's coming around like from a different direction entirely, and yet you can still, it's crazy. Like, it can't do that. Agency is so important in games, the ability to do or not do, or do something in a slightly different way,
or even look at a different part of the cutscene. You know what I mean? Like, if especially in games that let you look around during cutscenes,
right?
Or games that, like, you know, in The Last of Us, when you're supposed to be running away from something, you can look in the direction you're running, but you can look behind you and see what's coming at you, and you might pick up on these different things that other people don't. And it's like, what's so cool about TV and movies is that they're giving you their vision, exactly what they want you to see, exactly how they want you to experience it. But the incredible thing about games is they're able to design it to where you can have a truly unique experience with it. And then that just... that level of having a unique experience, it increases exponentially when you talk about giving the player different choices that could lead to different outcomes in the game. So you talk about a game like The Witcher 3, or a game like, I know we say it, we talk about it ad nauseum, but The Outer Worlds, or like Mass Effect, where you can make these decisions that truly alter the outcome or the ending that you might see. That is so cool to have that type of story.
Yeah, and that's one type of agency. And some people confuse the idea that if they can't change like the ending of a story, that there quote unquote is no agency. I'm like, that's not true. Like, people say The Last of Us doesn't have agency, but it does. It's just a different type of agency. Yes, you don't get to pick how that game ends. No spoilers there, because you didn't get to pick how the first one ended either. That's not how that game works. But like, the ability to choose, even, is usually more important in gameplay. Like, that's where like loadouts and builds and stat point allocation, or stealth versus, guns blazing, matter as far as storytelling mechanics, because it shapes your experience and how you remember the game. And again, you can't do that in any other kind of medium. And it's not to say that it's better because of it, but it is unique and utterly impossible to replicate, at least so far. There's testing stuff on Netflix where you get to interact with the story, but
that's more like Goosebumps, choose your own adventure sort of thing. It's not
which
really...
games do. Games already have that.
Well, and they do, but they make you experience it, even, in my opinion, more fully than you can just by clicking one of 4 options on a screen.
Right. So we just talked about a couple of ways. Do you have any types of stories that you feel that games can tell better?
I honestly have seen so many different types of stories told through games that I feel like you could truly, if you design it well, if you design the game well, you could tell any type of story through gaming. That's the beauty of it. It's it's a medium where you could do so many different things, and you have so many degrees of freedom in terms of creativity and how you can do it. If you mocap versus if you do like FMV, like kind of like in Control, they had some live action shots of people that they integrated into the game.
It's really good too.
Yeah, and so there's just so many different ways, and then you've got the indie stuff that's kind of more stylized, like retro and Super Nintendo and that sort of thing, which has a whole different way of telling a story and conveying that themes and that sort of thing. So I think there's so many different ways you can develop a game, and then you have things like Dreams, where you can have the player create their own stories and their own assets and their own thing, and give them a creative suite. And to me, I don't necessarily think there is a particular story type that's better suited for gaming. You can do them all. Isn't there a theory out there that there are really only like 5 different storylines in fiction or something?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've heard.
I think you could do them all really well, and I'm sure we could find examples that are done really well in gaming.
I agree. Sky's the limit. There isn't a single type of story you can't tell in a video game. Full stop. Like, would it boil, 7 types? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Overcoming the monster, Rag to Riches, The Quest, Voyage and Return, Comedy, Tragedy, Rebirth.
Yeah. That sounds, those are the archetypes that almost every story can clearly fall into. Except for maybe the most banal of like narratives. And so sometimes that might... So back to our point about how it can be anything. sometimes that what happens is that just ends up being like a quote unquote walking sim, and that's fine, but it's still a video game, and it has interaction. And
if you use the technology at your disposal to do a walking sim well, look at a game like Hellblade. Look at the way they recorded with binaural mics, and that's totally different sound design than I've ever experienced in a video game, where it sounds like it's like inches from your ear, or it sounds like it's over here in 3D. Things
really
you just simply can't achieve in stereo. Incredible.
And you can expect people, it's not a big ask to ask someone, hey, put your headphones on when you play this game versus put your headphones on when you watch this movie. Like, people just aren't going to do the second thing. I put my headphones half the time on anyway when I'm playing games, especially on my Switch, which is where I played Hellblade. And so it was no problem at all. And I'm glad I did.
Did you beat that game?
I did not, unfortunately.
Me neither. Dude, it honestly got too intense for me.
It was very intense, and I didn't like the gameplay. It just wasn't, like, at some point they started, like, the puzzles weren't fun.
Yeah,
it was just because that game is intentionally trippy, to just put it lightly,
and that's what it did well, and I commend them for that. And especially the sound design, especially the aesthetic for a lower budget indie game.
We're speaking of, in case you don't know, we're talking about Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is the full title. And that came out 2018, I think.
It's got a sequel coming out too.
Yep. The company Ninja Theory, right?
Yep.
Ninja Theory was bought by Microsoft, actually, and so that'll be Xbox exclusive or Microsoft exclusive. But yeah, Hellblade had all these visually and audio trippy moments, but then decided it would be fun to put visual based puzzles in it at the same time. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't, no, that's not gonna, I mean, like, it serviced the story, and yet at the same time, like, I can't do this. Like, it's not fun. And the combat wasn't that fun. But this is not a Hellblade review.
No.
So no type of story can't be told. What I would love to see, and you do see from time to time, but I'd love to see more, give me a story type that doesn't necessarily, like, match the genre. So Celeste is probably the easiest example. They gave you probably the most, what's the word I'm looking for? The most high-profile narrative platformer ever made. Like, there have been, Cave Story is a good one. As far as
Mario,
like a story.
Super Mario World, you got to save the princess. Yeah,
save the princess in Dinosaur Land. No story there, except there is a story there. It's a great story. It's a simple story, but it's really good. But yeah, so, like, what was I talking about? Oh, Celeste. So Celeste has a really good narrative. Just, as far as dialogue is concerned, the very few characters it has are very good. The message it's trying to say is very obvious, but very well told. But then the gameplay services the story as well in a way that is just so perfect for the style and genre that it is. I want to see more stuff like that.
Well, and not to mention the platforming's perfectly executed.
Oh, that too. It's a perfect game. That is a perfect game in my book, as far as just the gameplay. But then the story, compels you to keep playing what is a very hard game. And the gameplay makes you want to see the next piece of story, which is basically the best thing you can say about any game. Story is very important to me. Story is very important to me in a game. You were talking earlier about Borderlands, how you're not there for the story, and that's fine. But because the gameplay is also not there for you, what do you have at that point?
Exactly.
Something has to feed into the other. The loop isn't just, the shooting and the looting. The loop, for me at least, includes the story, even if it's bare bones. As long as it fits and serves the gameplay, and the gameplay serves that narrative, whatever it might be, that's part of the package for me. And if it's not there, I don't usually play it. Like, sure. I can't do, except for very rare exceptions, games that don't have a story.
And you do have exceptions to that. I would say, like, Doom 2016 is an exception to that.
Yeah, I very rarely skip stuff, and I was just smashing that space bar when that dude would talk to me. I'm like, I don't care. And then, but guess what? Eventually, because I wasn't interested in that, and the game got just a smidge too hard, like I was repeating stuff a little too much, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. I don't care anymore. I don't want to see what's next, and I'm tired of losing to this encounter, and I'm done. And not because it was bad. I had a great time with Doom 2016, but I had my fill.
Yeah.
Good question, Sean.
Yeah, great question, Sean. Keep them coming, dude. And anybody else who's listening, I think very few people make it to this part. But Josh, we haven't heard from you in a while, so,
It's true. Maybe we should throw the listener questions at the top.
Ooh. I like that idea.
Maybe mix it up.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was a meaty episode, man.
Very meaty.
What are you getting into this weekend?
Nothing, I don't think. I think we don't have anything for a change. The last couple of weekends, we were actually kind of busy. We went a couple places, but I think I'm just gonna hang out.
Streets of Rage on Sunday.
Streets of Rage on Sunday. Let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, we have Baby Devin's virtual birthday party on Saturday.
Oh, so dude, one already? Crazy.
He's won. Yeah, actually, is his actual birthday Saturday? Yeah, I think his actual birthday is Saturday.
I feel like that just happened.
So Greg, since they're Italian, Greg wants to do the like an Italian themed birthday party. So they're gonna do a Mario birthday party, and like we're gonna cook Italian food and like dress up and do a little Skype thing and stuff. So it should be fun.
That's fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, that's all we have for you this week. You can find us over at neverfreetoplay.com or patreon.com/neverfreetoplay. Hope you all have a fantastic week. We will try, but we are never free to play. Okay, well, we can stop recording now. I don't know if we got any B-roll in our B-hole, but... What's up, everybody? This is Jason, and I'm bringing you B-roll for your B-hole. We've served you the A-roll for your A-hole. Get ready for the B-roll for your B-hole.
And if you stick around long enough, C-roll for your C-hole.
I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all.
You started this, so...
And then
was
there's
this episode
also
21?
D-roll for your D-hole? I don't want it.
I don't want to define these holes. These are ambiguous holes.
Yeah.
E-hole. Every hole.
Ooh, I like that. I'll take some E-roll for my E-holes.
I'm going to stop recording.